On Sunday, more than 1,100 voting centers opened in Venezuela for the electoral simulation that takes place. In this way, Elvis Amoroso, president of the National Electoral Council, detailed that more than 21 million voters will be able to go to the nearest center to familiarize themselves with the voting system. On the other hand, Amoroso denounced that some presidential candidates do not recognize Sunday's simulation regarding the Constitution and the electoral laws. In addition, Amoroso invited citizens and international observers to participate in this event, which is part of the electoral calendar. We now welcome once more our correspondent Gladys Quesada for more information on this electoral drill that is being held in Venezuela. Hello Gladys, what can you tell us?
Hello Luis, once again we are making this contact from Caracas, Venezuela to give you all the information regarding this electoral drill. This exercise that is an essay for all the Venezuelan people ahead of the July 28th presidential elections. As we have been saying and stressing, this is an exercise observed in the electoral law of Venezuela, and also this is one of the many steps of the protocol ahead of the elections, ahead of any polling process. Also, in this occasion, we are in the parish El Valle. This is one of the downtown Caracas parishes, one of the 666 that are open and are going to receive these voters for the electoral process, this drill. Also, as we wanted to say you, this is a process that will allow the people and the voters to rectify the effectiveness of the protocols. As you are having in the screen, this is a biometric system. Everyone has to give their fingerprint. The system will acknowledge, will recognize their identity. Also, they will go back there to exercise the right to vote. This is a step that is secret because everyone has the right to privacy to exercise the vote. And afterwards, after the voters chooses in the ballot which candidate is of preference, is going to put that in the ballot box, and afterwards is going to give again the data and the fingerprint, because this is one of the many ways to triangulate, to corroborate, to confront the information, and to have evidence of the proper accomplishment of the process. People is coming in here with the elderly, they are coming in here with all the relatives, families, and even the kids are coming with the adults to see the process. I have to stress, this has no valid outcome. This is not a process that can affect the result of any election. This is just a process to gather better information and for the National Electoral Council to assess the proper development and the proper performance of every one of the steps of today. The colleges and the voting centers opened at 8 a.m. So it's planned, it's scheduled that the centers will close at 4 p.m. And in any case, if the affluence, if the turnout is larger than expected, well, it is maybe possible that the authorities extend the closing hours of every voting station and voting center here in Caracas and all over the country. You have these beautiful images. This is a mother and a son that came together to exercise their right to vote and also to assess the process and for everyone to learn. This is a learning process for the two parts, for the National Electoral Council and the authorities, and also for every one of the voters that are coming in here to oversee their process and to exercise the voting processes. Also, as we were saying, there are over 660 parishes all over the 335 municipalities in Caracas that have been opening their doors for these voting centers. And I have to say something else. Everyone can come to any voting center because today is just a drill. So every voter, no matter where they are located, can come with their documents of identity, no matter if they are expired, because the need is to have the identification of every voter and every person. I wanted to stress also that today it is a calm Sunday here in Venezuela. The national police is accompanying the process to ensure, to guarantee security and safety in all the processes. And even though some opposition candidates have said they don't acknowledge the electoral drill, this is a paramount and a key step to ensure the transparency of the process, to ensure the expedite performance of the process, and also the accuracy of the equipment and the voting material. That's the information so far, so we will have more details in upcoming emissions, but
Gladys,
for now,
before saying farewell for the moment, I cannot help but notice the large amount of turnout that we're seeing on the images in these couple of hours that we've had of voting in this electoral drill. What is the mood of the Venezuelan people and what is the reason that they're coming out en masse to vote on this electoral drill, which is not actually the voting day, that is on July 28th?
Well, I have been talking to them, and I invite my cameraman with me. I beg your pardon here, because there are so many press colleges, and you know. But you can see people in here. I want to show you the lines. This is the line inside the voting center, but outside there are larger lines. And as you can see, people is coming. As I was telling you, this is a familiar exercise. This is not just a voters or maybe a mandatory exercise. This is a voluntary one. People are coming in here accompanied by their minors, their children, their offspring, the elderly, because they see this as an electoral party. This is an electoral joyful day for the Venezuelans, and they are just, coming to do what they know to do, because in over 20 years of revolution, they have held over 30 processes of elections, because they have been holding presidential elections, general elections. They have been, changing the seats of the Congress through electoral processes and pollings. They have been going to referendums like the one we saw last year, later that year, for the Essequibo region. And this is no strange for the Venezuelan people, but they are still coming and they are still gathering here. Many of them are saying that this corroborates and proves the civility and the democracy that they are living. And we will have more opinions in depth in upcoming emissions. And as you see behind me, this is the line, and the people are still coming to vote. But we are just midday, around midday on today's voting. Let's recall that the closing date is 4 p.m., but it will extend in the case of larger turnout than expected. Luis.
Thank you, Gladys, for the latest information. We're going to stay up to date on everything that is unfolding on this electoral drill. I will get back to you on the next emission for more details of what is happening in Venezuela.
Of course, Luis. Back to you.
Thank you. Well, that was Gladys Quesada from Caracas reporting on everything that is going on this important electoral deal in Venezuela ahead of the presidential elections on July 28th. Let's continue with other news regarding this process. The presidential candidate, Antonio Ecarri, called on the people to take part in the election drill.
Venezuelans have to go to our queues to familiarize ourselves with the voting process, which is the most important thing. Always before taking an exam we have to practice. So I recommend that you come and practice, study, see the process, get familiar with the machine so that you do not get confused. That is the good thing about this process.
The National Electoral Council published the list of polling centers authorized for this Sunday, June 30th elections, a security drill with 1,174 active polling centers throughout the country. The celebration will be carried out to familiarize the Venezuelan people with the presidential elections of July 28th. The electoral body indicated that 27 polling centers will be active in the state of Miranda for this election drill, while the state of Zulia will have a total of 94 active centers. It is important to highlight that the capital district will have a total of 94 authorized voting centers. On the other hand, the northeastern state of Anzoátegui will have 73 centers authorized for this process. Added to the mention, in the western state of Táchira, 70 spaces are ready for this simulation. Likewise, the state of Bolívar will participate in this exercise with 44 electoral centers, while the state of Barinas will have 38 electoral centers set up. And lastly, in Nueva Esparta, around 29 centers will be active. Venezuela this June 30th is holding an important electoral drill in preparation for July 28th. And from the south brings you some context. Let's see.
The National Electoral Council set up 1,174 polling centers to verify the operation of the computerized voting system. The 23 states of the country will participate in the event. In the Capital District only, there will be 94 polling centers and 228 polling stations. Unlike on the election day, in this exercise, residents will be able to go to any polling station to familiarize themselves with the voting system. The drill invites more than 21 million Venezuelans to learn about the process for exercising their right to vote on July 28th.